Welcome to the Housing Connect Housing Choice Voucher Orientation. Let's talk about what is a Housing Choice Voucher. The Housing Choice Voucher was formerly known as the Section 8 program. It is a rental subsidy that is tenant-based, meaning it stays with you and not with where you live. You have the right to choose your own unit, and by being invited to this orientation, you've already been qualified as low income, disabled, elderly, and/or having dependents. The payment standard that Housing Connect uses is 2 people per bedroom regardless of age or gender. That means if you are a single parent with 1 child, you will be issued a 1-bedroom payment standard. However, if you find a larger unit that does not go over your payment standard, we will allow you to rent the larger unit. You should have received a copy of your voucher in your orientation materials. Please sign on the line indicated on the screen. The voucher that you've been issued today is initially going to be good for 60 days. It is important to find a unit as soon as you're able to because vouchers can run out or expire. Receiving your voucher today does not guarantee you housing assistance unless you lease up on the program. You may be able to request a 30-day extension in writing before your voucher expires. A second 30-day extension can only be granted in extreme situations and may be denied. We normally require documentation as to why you need a second 30-day extension. And vouchers can never exceed 120 days under any circumstance. Let's talk about how does the voucher actually work. The way that the voucher works is that Housing Connect pays the landlord a portion of rent and you pay the landlord a portion of rent. On this program, we are not your landlord. Your rent portion is based off of your income and will always be at least $50, which is the minimum rent, or 30 to 40% of your annual adjusted gross income. Here's an example. If your monthly adjusted gross income is $1,000, a 30% rent portion would mean your monthly rent would be $300. If your income changes, your portion changes to always match the 30% of your adjusted gross income. Again, the lowest your rent can go is $50. There is a 40% option. This option can only be applied to families who have some sort of income. This option allows you to find a unit that is a little bit more expensive than your payment standard. We will allow you to spend up to an extra 10% of your income to get a more expensive unit. So in the situation where if your monthly income was $1,000, 10% of that income would be $100, meaning you could add $100 to your payment standard and your monthly rent could be a maximum of $400. This is an option and not a requirement. Let's talk about what is adjusted gross income. Adjusted gross income is calculated after we apply any deductions that you qualify for. We look at your total income before taxes, and we apply deductions for being elderly or disabled. We look at out-of-pocket medical expenses for elderly or disabled families, dependent deductions for children under the age of 18, disabled adult or full-time student that is not the head or co-head of the household, and out-of-pocket childcare expenses. With this voucher, the whole point is to get out into the market and find a unit. This voucher allows you to find a type of unit that you like, such as a house, duplex, or apartment. Remember that time is of the essence because you are on a clock. You want to make sure you're confident when you're working with your potential landlord. Select a unit and location you'll enjoy, and remember that first impressions last. The things to consider when looking for a unit: is the rent reasonable? If it is over your payment standard, is it within your 40% option? Ask the landlord what utilities you will be responsible to pay for. Units that are all electric tend to be more expensive. You want to make sure you're living outside of high poverty areas and think, will I be happy living here for an entire year? Are there resources to help you find a unit? So here at Housing Connect, we are not housing locators. We do not assist you in your search for a unit. Most commonly, people are finding their units online. Listed below are a couple of websites: findhousing.utah.gov. This is a database of affordable housing maintained by DWS. Rental Finders and KSL.com are the same thing. And GoSection8.com has listings for more houses. Rental agencies can sometimes be an option. They're normally not recommended. And then newspapers. The security deposit. The voucher program does not assist with the security deposit, only rent. The security deposit is your responsibility, and landlords can charge whatever the market will allow. Right now, on average, most landlords are charging 1 month's rent as a security deposit. If you need deposit assistance, you can always try contacting the following resources: Community Action Program, DWS, or local churches such as Catholic Community Services or the LDS Church. The lease, like what was mentioned before, you must sign a 1-year lease to lease up onto the program. It must state who pays which utilities, have the contract rent amount, and must be signed by both you and the landlord. If you're going to be staying in the same unit you're currently living in, you will need to sign a new 1-year lease, even if you are currently month to month or in the middle of a lease. Before the voucher program starts to assist with rental assistance, the unit will need to pass a basic safety inspection. If the unit does not pass inspection, you may be required to find another unit. We recommend not moving in or signing a lease until the unit has passed our inspection. We will be getting to an inspection checklist to help you avoid the most commonly failed items. When does Housing Connect actually start to pay the landlord? Housing Connect will start to pay the landlord once the unit has passed our safety inspection and we have a copy of the new lease. Payments start from the day it passes inspection or the lease start date, whichever is later. And landlords can expect to usually receive payments within 2 weeks after we have all of the documentation that we need. If a landlord has questions on when Housing Connect will make a rent payment, please have them contact your caseworker. Let's go ahead and open up our red folders. We'll pull out the pages on the left side of your folder. Right on top, you should have information about our Family Self-Sufficiency Program. Family Self-Sufficiency Program is an employment-focused program for our clients receiving assistance through our Section 8 or public housing program. The whole point of this program is to help your family accomplish goals to become more self-sufficient. Types of goals that they can help you accomplish would be increasing education, repairing your credit, getting out of debt, expunging a criminal record, gaining job skills, and even buying a home. Next in your packet, you should have the process after orientation sheet. This is a step-by-step guide as to what happens when you leave today. Step 1, once you've located a unit, you'll move on to step 2. You'll fill out and sign your portion of packets and have the landlord fill out and sign their portion of packets. From there, the instructions say to call Giselle or Carissa. You can call one or both of us and let us know that your packets are completed. At that point, your file will be sent to Section 8 to get assigned a caseworker. The caseworker will contact you to set up an appointment to return your packets. Please do not bring in your packets without an appointment. At your appointment, the case manager will make sure that the unit and rent qualifies, input all of your information into the computer, and give you an estimated rent portion. From there, we move on to back-end stuff. We'll audit your file, schedule an inspection, and if everything is good, we will activate your file and your rent will be sent out in the next check run. Next up, you should have information about VAWA, which is the Violence Against Women's Act. This is information on a federal law that went into effect in 2013, which protects individuals and families who are victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. These are your rights. If you have questions specifically about domestic violence, please reach out to the eligibility caseworkers to answer those. Next up, you should have a table of contents, also called an orientation overview. This packet just goes over all of the information covered in the slideshow and gives you phone numbers and other information. This information is provided so that if you have questions, you have the information readily available. Next up, you should have a Moving Matters Guide to Housing. If you flip over the front page, you will see a Salt Lake County map on the back of the front page. The map shows you the boundaries of your voucher. We cover an extremely large area from the top of Salt Lake City all the way south down through Bluffdale, as far west as Magna, and as far as Cottonwood Heights. If you can see the city name listed on that map, you can rent in that area. Behind the map is information on school districts, utility companies, as well as a 9-page list of apartments that specifically offer handicap accessible units. Next up, you should have the Section 8 program responsibilities. This is a copy of the responsibilities that you and your family are required to follow to remain receiving assistance. This is your copy to keep for your records, and you do not need to sign it. Next up, we have the inspection checklist. This is a list of the most commonly failed items during an inspection. The inspection that we conduct is a housing quality standards inspection looking for basic safety. General rule of thumb here is if it has it, it has to work. We're looking for things like broken windows, holes in walls, and do your appliances work appropriately. Please remember that rental assistance does not begin until after the unit has passed our housing quality standards inspection. Next in your packet is a daycare deduction verification form. If you are paying anything out of pocket for child care expenses to go to school or to go to work, you may qualify for a deduction on your rent. This is the form that you would take to your daycare provider and turn into your caseworker. Next in your packet, you have a copy of the employment verification form. This form does not need to be filled out currently. This is the form that we use anytime there's a change in your income. This form is good for new jobs, terminations, changes in hours, or wage. You must report any changes in income within 10 days of the change. We like you to have this form on hand so you have it if you need it. Next up, we have information talking about fraud. If you are caught committing fraud to obtain assisted housing, you could be evicted, required to repay any assistance we provided, fined, and even in prison. The most common type of fraud is certifying false information. The next packet we have is called The Good Place to Live. The Section 8 program allows you to choose a house or apartment that you like. It may be where you're living now or somewhere else. This packet breaks down for you room by room what each room should have. Every house or apartment must have at least a living room, kitchen, and bathroom. The next packet is about lead-based paint. Homes built before 1978 are likely to contain lead-based paint. You want to make sure you're watching for peeling paint inside or outside of the unit, as that will fail our housing quality standard inspection. Next up, we have a paper talking about housing discrimination. Federally, it is unlawful to discriminate in housing based off of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, or handicap. There is information on how to report discrimination on this sheet if you come across it. Additionally, in the state of Utah, source of income is a protected class. If you have more questions about that, please read the information below. And lastly, you have a form about reasonable accommodations. If a person in your household has a disability and requires special accommodations, this form goes over what types of accommodations we can provide and is the actual request form on how to receive those accommodations. You can put all of those pages back on the left side of your folder. None of those need to be filled out or turned in currently. On the right side of your packet, you should have 3 move packets. These move packets are pretty self-explanatory. Once a landlord has agreed to rent to you, you have a tenant packet. This you will fill out on your own. There is a tenant-landlord packet which you will fill out with your landlord, and a landlord packet that your landlord fills out. If your landlord does not want to give you back the landlord packet, that is acceptable. Landlords can arrange to bring that in themselves. Once all 3 of your packets are filled out, please call the eligibility department and follow the process after orientation page instructions. Once you're moved in, now what? From there, you'll follow the terms of your lease. For maintenance problems, we suggest notifying your landlord in writing. You want to make sure you're giving landlord time to fix repairs. If you require tenant-landlord mediation, that is a service that Community Action Program does offer. And then you'll notify us in writing within 10 days of any changes in income, deductions, or family size throughout the year. Annual recertification. To remain on this program, you will need to recertify your information every year. We start this process about 9 months after you've been in your new unit. You'll be sent 2 notices by mail, one for an inspection and the other to return a recertification packet. At your annual review, we will have access to information from Social Security, TANF, food stamps, Medicaid, ORS, child support payments, employment information, and unemployment benefits. You must report in writing and provide verification of any changes during the year within 10 days of the change. Biannual inspections. If you are remaining in the same unit year after year, we will put you onto a biannual inspection schedule, which means we will come out to inspect every other year. For inspections, someone older than 18 must be present, and a request for repair should be made in writing to your landlord, and you'll get a copy to keep for your records. Reporting changes must be done in writing within 10 days of the change. Provide proof of the change and read all of the forms. Forms will tell you if you need to fax, mail, or hand deliver. When faxing, please keep the confirmation page for your records until you're sure we've received it. If bringing something into the front desk, the receptionist will happily make you a date stamped copy. Do not report any changes over the phone. We don't accept changes over the phone and you have no documented proof. And then follow up. You will always receive a letter. If we have not made a change for you, we may not have received your verifications. You are always responsible to follow up. When can I move? You can move to a new unit after your 1-year lease is expired. You must fill out an appropriate at least 30-day notice to vacate form and give it to your landlord. If your lease requires more than a 30-day notice, please follow the terms of your lease. You must get approval before moving to a new unit and be in good standing with us and the landlord. What is portability? The Housing Choice Voucher Program is a federal program. It is in all 50 states and Puerto Rico. After your first year on the program, you may be able to port your voucher to another housing authority inside or outside the state of Utah. To qualify, you need to be in good standing, let your caseworker know, and give your landlord appropriate notice that you will be moving. How long can I keep my voucher? The Housing Choice Voucher Program is a permanent housing program. You are able to keep your voucher as long as you're income eligible and you follow the rules of the program. For income eligible, there's no magic number. What it is when your 30% rent portion covers your full rent, you are no longer income eligible. If you still have questions, please contact the Housing Connect Eligibility Department at 801-284-4478.